Good evening, everybody. It's Enrique coming to you live on this special leadership edition. We're going to be covering a summit that I'm so excited about because it is coming here to Orlando. And tonight I have with me John Minyard, Raymond, my brother in Texas, and Rich in the Pacific Northwest. We're going to talk about the summit. Guys, welcome to the show. It's so nice to have you.
Hey, thanks for having us, Enrique. Appreciate
Appreciate
it.
it, Enrique.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thank you.
All right. So this summit, which is interesting, having all the things that are going on, there is still a need for leadership development. There is still a need for conferences. There's still a need for face to face. People are yearning this. They're looking for it. And even in instances, hey, they want you to come to them. So I want to highlight this summit that you guys have out of Fantail Services. I'm excited that you guys have ventured to organize this thing and get some pillars behind leadership development. So, John, first of all, tell us a little bit about Fantail Services, and then, you know, why is this summit so different than the rest?
Okay, I'm happy to. So, Enrique, I've been on your shows before. So, a little bit about Fantail Services. It's a solutions-based consultancy where we really try to partner with companies and find them solutions for whether it's a leadership problem, an efficiency problem, and really we're there to help drive and build a team to save them money, time, and so on. So, and plus we have a lot of other things going on within the company. So one of the areas that I'm very passionate about is the leadership development. And we saw, and I have seen a huge void out there working with different organizations. You know, primarily for the last 8 years, I've worked in manufacturing and oil and gas. And you just see this void out there for leadership. So as I started the company and started to develop it, I wanted to really focus on leadership. And when I started looking around different organizations and seeing what these leadership summits were about, not to say they're not bad, but I don't think they met the intent of what I'm looking for. So, you know, for example, people go to these leadership summits, there's hundreds of people in the room, speakers get up, 8 to 10 speakers, they talk for an hour, maybe they'll answer a couple of questions, and then they're off the stage. Next speaker comes up. So at the end of a 1 or 2 day summit, you ask yourself, what did you really get out of it? You probably got a couple of good golden nuggets that you can chew on a little bit. But did you really have the tools that you needed to take back and develop your teams and work with your teams? So essentially, I've assembled this team of experts that we've developed this leadership summit. And I really focus on the 3 pillars. It's leadership development and continuum. You know, talking about various aspects of leadership using John Maxwell principles, using Zig Ziglar principles, and all the principles that we learned in the military service. From the continuum, we continue on with these individuals that we use at the summit. And when our summits go, they're about 15 to 20 people. So it's a very small group of individuals. On top of the leadership development side of it, I thought, well, what's next? And as a leader, you're dealing with humans. And so I brought in an expert in human performance. And Rich will talk a little bit about human performance because it's so important in today's environment that we understand what effects humans have on our efficiencies, on our processes, those kind of things. And then 2020 hit and really kind of punched everybody in the mouth. And it's like everybody went off to their corners. They're working out of their homes. They're working remotely. And how do you build these resilient teams to meet the challenges of today? And that's where I brought Ray and yourself and some other folks in. Raymond is a resilience building expert, and he's part of my team now, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So I'll shut up now.
Well, no, that's great. And folks, for a little bit of backdrop for those that don't know John Minyard personally, I met him as the 15th fleet master chief in the Pacific. He retired, started into the oil industry, training, leadership, safety, and all those things. So we go back a little ways, John.
Yeah.
I would say. But
Well,
I want to take an opportunity to say hi to those that are joining us, Kim, Troy, and sorry, it says LinkedIn users. That's something that's you have to fix on your little settings on LinkedIn, but that's fine. Thank you for joining us tonight. Now, John, as Kim just said, right? IMC is going down. Orlando, very hot spot for leadership development, and she says the leadership is very needed. The development piece, the instructional piece, the inside out piece. So, you talked about the pillars of leadership development, human performance, and resiliency. And I know, Raymond, that you just joined the team as the resiliency piece to the whole holistic leadership development. So, first of all, tell us a little bit about you, and then tell us a little bit about what resiliency, what it plays in the leadership development.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Enrique. I'm very, very proud to be a little bit humbled to be part of this group. You guys have wonderful experience, and I was fortunate enough to get put in touch with John and Gordon, I don't know, 6 months ago or so through another contact that figured the experience I had would be able to add something to the team. And John and I had a few chats, and we have the same views on a great many things, which is wonderful. And it's been a really easy slot to fix in. That being said, I stumbled across the Resilience Building Leadership Professional Program earlier on in the year, just from my own seeking more leadership training. I was in the military myself. I was a airborne infantry for 10 years. I got out and went straight to the drilling rigs onshore. I worked my way up through the ranks in the drilling rigs to rig manager, and then I went overseas. I was working domestic, and then I traveled overseas, building rigs, commissioning rigs, and through that it morphed and grew, and I stayed working internationally for quite some time. I worked domestically here for a little while, running a rig build facility in East Houston, and then went back international with that same company and started up a couple of countries. And then as contracts went down, I moved to another group, went into Kuwait and managed a 6 super rig program as the operations manager for 6 years. And then once COVID hit, like a lot of us, we've had to move on and find something else. In that time, I worked for some leaders that I didn't really identify as having quite the leadership skills that I thought a leader should have. I saw a lot of groupthink, which in my own personal development, my own study, I found is very detrimental to organizations. And I was having these light bulb moments of there's got to be something different. Fortunately enough, I came across the Resilience Building Leadership Professional Program. I interviewed with them. They accepted me in. I went in and became a Resilience Building Leadership Professional Trainer, and now I add that into the team. So the basics of the Resilience Building Leadership Program, for just the basic, there's 3 levels. There's a Resilience RBLP, which is basically for a team member. Then there's an RBLPC, which is a coach. And there's an RBLPT, which would be the 8 and 5/8 regular, you call it in the oil field. It's the highest level, so you can train people, and you can facilitate their exam prep so they can go on and get the credential. Wonderful part about it is it's a credential. It's not just a printed certificate you get; it's an actual credential. So with that being said, for the basic RBLP, it's the 3 points of it is creating a positive climate, developing cohesion, and providing purpose. There's some subheadings in each one, but that's the high level of it. And that's what we see, as John talked about earlier, is especially with the challenging market we have right now, so many people being off from the COVID and just the way culture has gone in general. What do organizations give to their team members to be able to build resilient teams while navigating these very thorny issues within the cultures and the teams? How do you keep accountability, but at the same time not disrespect anybody, but keep that level of accountability going? How do you develop that social trust, the task trust, team trust, develop your teams, keep the growth, make it resilient? And that's what we offer. We can help people with that.
And that's amazing. Now you mentioned overseas, and one of our guests commented that hey, Venezuela is it's looking for some help, and so it's interesting because I've always said leadership is leadership. It doesn't matter where in the world it is, and so. Hey, if that is something that's interesting to you guys, we might follow up on that comment. But Raymond, you mentioned providing a company, an organization providing something for the employee, the team members, and resilience building is something that you don't see much of, right? This is not one of those things that companies are so inclined to provide to their workforce. How can resiliency, along with the other pillars of just standard leadership development, and we're going to talking about human performance here in a little while, Rich, and I'll bring you on. But how is resiliency training going to be built in and possibly get built into organizations?
Well, that's where we need to get in, and it's a two-way street. You can't just go from the top down. It's also from the bottom up. I mean, you've probably heard the term managing up before, and that's also important. In order to build that team cohesion and the team trust, it's got to go both ways. You've got the culture side and you've got the climate side, and you have to work on both of those. What we see a lot of times is the good idea fairy comes out, and somebody just pumps something out, and it becomes a groupthink culture, and people are just nodding their head, and it quashes creativity. It kills creativity. People lose purpose. People need purpose in order to have that personal growth, and when they have that purpose, they're also motivated. And these are things that we can help people with. We can work with them on that. We can do on-site coaching. We can do follow-up training. So we can facilitate it in a group environment, and then we can do follow-up training to help people work with that. And one of the wonderful things that John has developed with these leadership summits is that we don't just do a leadership summit and it's a forget about it. We provide that follow-up and that follow-up coaching as part of doing the leadership summits, which is wonderful.
Outstanding. Now, Rich, I know you've been waiting there on the sideline, but human performance. What a integral thing to bring to corporations, organizations, and groups, and group dynamic, because human performance, it's a science all by itself. But tell us a little bit first about you and the human performance piece of the summit.
You bet. Thanks, Enrique and John and Ray. It's good to see you guys again. Much like Ray, I'm humbled to be a part of this team. The level of experience and the depth and breadth of knowledge and know-how that these folks have, it astonishes me every day. I mean, they've been to every corner of the world, and they've met some incredible people and have done some incredible things in their career. So like them, I'm a lifelong learner, and so we're constantly in that stage of learning. A little bit about myself. I'm a 28-year Air Force veteran. I worked in the maintenance career field for a short period of time, about 5 years, and then I had the privilege and honor of working with combat rescue and special operations, flying H-60s. And I worked with those communities for about 10 years, at which point I became a medical science officer. And that's where I really got into human performance and human factors. I had the opportunity to work with a lot of what's highly referred to as high reliability organizations. Special operations teams, not just in the Air Force, but across the DoD, as well as, fighter pilots from Air Force and Navy, Marine fighter pilots, so a lot of folks doing some dangerous work and making lots of decisions in split-second times. And so, optimizing their performance was a key aspect of what they did. So I had the privilege and honor to do that for a little while. And then did some more stuff, and I had my last tour was in Hawaii. Enrique, as you well know, we both spent some time there. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun there. But then I had the opportunity to learn a lot more and apply those things that I learned in the Air Force in the civilian sector, in the energy sector, the aviation sector, and in a aircraft manufacturing and design and flight test arena as well. And, I'll tell you, fellas, human performance is an often misunderstood area of endeavor, if you will. It encapsulates so much. When you think about human performance or human factors, there are so many different sciences that pull all of that together. There's the social sciences of psychology and sociology and anthropometrics, and then you've got the design, human factors engineering, industrial design, the engineering side, the human HFE side of the house, and then of course there are the biological sciences, physiology, anatomy, kinesiology, those types of things. And it's how all of those sciences kind of converge to meet and help us to understand how humans operate, how we work, how we communicate, how we perceive those things that are ever present in our daily work. And Ray was talking about deliberately developing resiliency. And one of the great things that I think we can offer is providing an education and a clear understanding of how humans work, and providing not just senior leaders, but where the rubber meets the road, the middle management folks, tools that they can better understand how they can optimize performance of each and every one of their workers. We're going to take a look at human performance and human error, and we'll define a lot of that to kind of give some structure as to what that is and how we can identify those areas within literally any organization. We look at attention management and situational awareness, how we achieve it, and the threats to achieving situational awareness, and ways to combat them, both in our business operations as well as our personal lives, because what happens at home absolutely affects our performance at work. And 2020 being the Mike Tyson right hook that it was to most of us, there are a lot of distractions, COVID-19, a lot of stress, a lot of unfamiliar settings, proficiency issues, all sorts of things that come into play. And the better we understand how humans operate, the better off we'll be. We'll dive into some fatigue management specifics, so we understand how we as humans sleep and how we can optimize that sleep, how fatigue might affect us, and ultimately look at some fatigue risk management development and implementation. And then finally, we'll look at some risk management from a performance optimization point of view, individual, team, and organizational levels. How do we define risk, and how do we approach codifying it and identifying it in the organization so that we can attack it from a point of view objectively, and we know that we're achieving what we need to achieve. So that's where we're coming in from the human performance side of the house, and I'm really happy to be a part of this team.
Well, I tell you that we have plenty of guests that are, saying they appreciate. They're so true. This is great. And for those that you see a little video technicality, don't worry about that. We're still going. And Tony Taylor, thank you for being with us tonight, Tony.
Oh, man, Tony.
I believe he's a part of something coming here soon. So So glad to see you join in on all the leadership fun. Jack, hey Jack, how you doing? Hey, we get a lot of people coming in.
Come on.
Thank you for chiming in. Appreciate it. And so we continue to talk about this summit, and we earlier we spoke about, hey, it's hard for some people to get out and go to summits, but IMC, if you're a JMT, or that's John Maxwell team trained kind of person, it's going down right now. They're having a whole lot of fun. They're getting educated. They're getting all of the education on leadership. And so this summit is similar in the sense that it's pinpointing leadership, but I love the fact that you've built into it resiliency and the human performance factor, because when you train, typically leadership, you just train for some skills, maybe some gaps here and there, and they come, get their information, they go. There's no way of following up. There's you got your 3 day, 2 day, whatever, 1 week, and
Yep.
then you're on your own. But Ray, you mentioned that the follow up is built into it, and this is one of those things that a lot of leadership development conferences and organizations are missing. So when we're talking about John, when we're talking about return on investment for a summit, you must know that people say, okay, so why this one, right?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about why this one.
So for me, it was really to get an intimate setting of 15 to 20 up and coming leaders or proven leaders in a room, where we can solve some of the challenges among a bunch of like-minded individuals. So when we talk about creating a positive climate, we'll follow that up with, like Rich talked about, some human performance principles, things that they need to look for. I bring in enough instructors, essentially where we're a 4 or 5 to 1 ratio in instructors to students. And so we go through these 2 days, and my instructors are not up there to kill you, and it's not death by PowerPoint. We do the presentations, but it's to facilitate an open and honest discussion about different aspects of leadership, the challenges of it. We break into small groups to meet some other challenges. I do have some case studies built in there. And so we spend the entire day, 2 days together, and then everybody will depart. And then they go on and get on with their lives. That's not enough. To me, it was not enough. So as part of this leadership summit, the return on investment piece is we're bringing you, leaders who have gone through all these different John Maxwell courses, Zig Ziglar, the Coveys. We've been instructed in all of these different principles and theories. But what we've actually done is taken them into the real world. And so the instructors have well over 100 plus years of practical experience in leading. And then what we do at the end of this is, instead of just sending you on your way, thanks for coming, have a good life, we built in the next 6 months where we'll do a 1-hour session per month with the individuals that showed up at the summit if they want to participate. Typically, we'll have to do it via Zoom or some other kind of media, but we'll meet with those individuals again for a 1-hour, 1.5-hour session where we'll talk about some other leadership challenge. So it's a continuum of education for the next 6 months that's built into the summit. And I think that is so important for the individuals. They can bring back a topic of discussion. The beauty of this entire summit is it's very customizable to the individual's needs. So if a company wants us to come in and say, come into my company and let's talk, do this leadership summit, what I have built right now can easily be changed. I have a library of topics that we can bring into a company to meet their needs. So it's not just John Minyard and Fantail Services, here's your little package, take it or leave it. I built it in. You mentioned Tony Taylor. I met Tony a couple of months ago, and I've asked him to come on board the team, being one of my guest speakers. So, inspiring individual, lots of talent, and I want him part of this team as well. So he's going to be one of our guest speakers at one of our up and coming summits. So,
and just to piggyback on that, John, you raised a really good point about this team and this group. And if you take a chance, opportunity, and take a look at the experience of everybody, this team knows what good looks like. That's the important thing. Between crucial conversation training, your time in the services, you're working in the aviation industry, working in the Navy, special operations aviation experience. Myself with the oil field and being ex-military, the level of training that everybody's bringing to the table. Myself, I can say I've started up countries that have been very successful. I've worked in operations right from the ground up, right from building the rig, from cutting the steel all the way to taking it out into the field, starting the country up, hiring the teams. With putting all of this together, we know what good looks like. We know what worked, what didn't work, and we can help people. We can pass that experience on and help people.
Yeah, no, it's a amazing team that you guys have put together, not only as far as the experience on the military side, but the experience in the real world side and in action, right? And I love how you put that, Raymond. You know what good looks like. Everybody knows what bad looks like, right? That's something that everybody can tell you. Yeah, that's what bad looks like. But it's harder to look to really identify what good looks like, and it sounds like you guys have that in the bag now. What's exciting about this is just not the fact that you are going to have this summit, but the places you're going to have this summit. So, John, tell us a little bit about locations that you are already planning to have this summit, and then the opportunity that companies may have to, let's say, hey, maybe we're not in that area, to get you to speak to their team.
Yeah, so thanks for that, Enrique. So right now we've got 4 summits for the remainder of 2021 planned. And again, it depends on participation. It depends on restrictions that we're going through. But right now, we've got planned for the end of September, we'll be in Point Clear, Alabama at the Grand Hyatt. And then in October, we're coming to Enrique's backyard for the 11th through the 14th of October in Orlando. And then at the end of October, we're planning on Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, which is a resort up there at the Idaho-Washington border before it gets too cold. Being from Texas, I don't like cold, so we're going to hit that one and then get out of there. But that's where Tony's going to be speaking at. Tony Taylor's going to be our guest speaker at that event. Beautiful resort up there. And then we're going to come back to my backyard to San Antonio, Texas in November, the 15th through the 18th of November at a Tapatio Springs Golf Resort, and it's owned by George Strait. So they're going to invite us in for that one. We've got another guest speaker, a Command Sergeant Major from the Canadian Special Operations. He's going to come in and be one of our guest speakers for that event. But if you can't make those events, just give us a call, check out our website, and or give me a call, and we'll happily put together a summit in a town near you. We'll travel anywhere to put one of these on, because it is so important that we get this information out to people. And again, at the beginning of this, Enrique asked me what is Fantail about? It's about helping people. That's the whole purpose behind why I started this company, is to give something back. I learned a tremendous amount in the military. I'm very humbled to have served, but now I want to give something back. So we're happy to come to your company or to a town near you. And again, we keep it at about 15 to 20 people. If you have more than that, we can certainly accommodate that, but let's talk about it first.
Outstanding. So intimate group, you get some type of knowledge that you may have heard of before, but not in this way. The structure is made to develop you from inside out and all the way up. And so that's a great not only plan but dynamic that you're bringing into this leadership development. And if you are in any one of those four cities or nearby, you're welcome to reach out to Fantail Services. At the bottom of the screen, you see their website scrolling for the summit specifically. But once you get to fantailservices.com, you can get all the information you need there and contact information. So glad to see Tony is on board for one of these. He's going to bring some power to that speaking engagement.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah, we're going to have him on. We'll have him on next time.
All right. So, folks, if you're looking for leadership development, you're looking around. It's around, and this happens to be in your city. Do not waste the opportunity to be part of this small complement of folks. But there's this one thing, Raymond and John, because you're bringing resiliency, but you're bringing a little more than that.
Well, that's the thing that we're so excited about. And just to touch on your subject about the leadership summits, just because it shows the leadership summits in certain areas, that's just something that's been put together that we're trying to achieve. John and I have been working on this for a few weeks now. We'd love to go anywhere. Somebody out in Midland, Texas, or somebody up in Edmonton, Alberta, or something sees a need. We can travel and go do it for you. I mean, we can put it together. Just reach out to us. We can do lunch and learns. We can come in for a short lunch and learn and touch on some topics. If the leadership in an organization sees that they'd like a little bit of help in a certain area, we can come in and customize that. So don't be shy. Feel free to reach out, and we'll be there. One thing we discussed yesterday, near and dear to my heart, is this human behavior. I can give you a bunch of training, but how do we make that training and the end mission of what that we're providing, how do we make it repeatable? I think this is the most important part. All of us have been somewhere where we put together a project and everybody goes really hard at it and they do a really good job and they knock it out of the park. But then maybe the next one, it sort of falls apart and goes off the rails a bit. Because I've got so much oil and gas experience, I look at the rig moves on the drilling contractor side. We've got a 3,000 horsepower rig over in the middle of the desert that on one move, it takes 21 days. We work on it really hard. We get it down to 8 or 12 days. Well, how do we make that repeatable? And that's part of where the resilience building leadership program, I think, is so important. Is how you build that team, the cohesiveness in the team, and how everybody's going towards the same mission. And once you get that improvement, how do you keep that improvement as a repeatable item? John and I talked earlier about a report that came out from the international oil and gas producers. And I found it very interesting. And you look at all the events, on well control events where the failures were, the highest number of events was human factors. It was at 71% of the events, not failure in procedures, not the barriers, not the equipment. The highest level was the human factors where things were overlooked. So that's where this repeatable comes in. We can help people. We can help the teams get more cohesive and resilient and make things repeatable.
And that's really why I brought I call him Professor Farley in with the human performance side of it. When you just look at one little small aspect of what he can teach you, and when he starts talking about fatigue and fatigue management, whose responsibility in an organization is it to manage that fatigue? Is it the individual's responsibility to make sure that they're fit for duty, ready to go to work? Absolutely. But it's also leadership's responsibility to make sure that they've got the conditions set within their organization to allow those individuals not to become fatigued and not to become burned out. And so when you look at, it doesn't matter the industry, if you look across the board, most of the errors and most of the incidents are caused by humans, and human fatigue and human factors really play a key role in this.
Yeah, I mean, as we're all aware, pretty well every industry nowadays, they've got a robust QA, QC, they've got a business management system, they've got critical operating procedures, they've got job safety analysis. Everything's there, all the tools are there. So then when you see an event, you think, how did it happen? Everything's there, all the tools are there. They've already been developed.
Yeah, these are great points, guys. And one of the biggest things that I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about was the level of organizational responsibility that leaders have for the people that do the work. Honestly, we remember that in our military careers. You want leaders that take care of you. Those are the guys and gals that you're going to go out and lay down in rush hour traffic for. You'll do whatever it takes to get the mission done, provided that those leaders are doing the things that they need to do to give you the optimal circumstances, for the environment that you're working in. And that includes all of those things that you were talking about. So I greatly appreciate hearing you guys say that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really, it's just so important. One example that sticks out in my mind that I've used in several circles is I had a rig manager working for me over in Kuwait. We had a robust succession planning document that we created that was wonderful because we had some new rigs coming in, and what we identified was just bringing all new people in from the outside and starting a rig up over there with all its challenges and the diversity of cultures and the challenging operator we were working with. It wasn't as successful as if we could take people within the existing group, do a succession planning document, promote them up, put them into positions, spread them out across the spectrum of the new rig coming in, and it'll help the success a lot. Now, what happened, as we all see in our careers, is we promoted somebody technically proficient. He was a driller, got promoted to night push. He was a night push, got promoted to rig manager. But as a company, we did not provide him with the tools to build teams, to have the management skills, to be able to deal with a diverse culture. Technically, the guy was spot on, but the human behavior, the management aspect, having vulnerability, having empathy, nobody provides those tools. And we see that in many organizations, that people get promoted on their technical abilities, but the tools aren't provided to help them succeed.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we struggle with across professions, right? Across professions. Typically, it is the high tech guy or gal that gets pushed into and thrusted into a position that one, either they didn't want or they weren't ready for, or they could care less for it. And sometimes they are, and they make it work. But for the most part, it's usually there's a gap, and we would like to see it filled, and you're the one that's showing the most aptitude, so let's get you in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Enrique, I mean, let's be honest. Companies don't like to invest a lot of money in leadership. They just, because again, it's a challenge, and they just will not typically invest a lot of money in it. Now they'll invest money in technical skills and technical training, but really, how much do they spend in the leadership aspect of it? And that's why I think that bringing these three pillars to the forefront and talking about, because they all complement each other, right? Leadership is not just one topic or one dynamic. And so people will ask, well, what do leadership summits cost? They're expensive. If you look at the professional leadership summits that are out there, they're very expensive. Our cost is half of whatever you find on the internet. I guarantee you I'm half that. And if you're a veteran or a active duty, I'll give you 15% right off the top. And so what do you get out of this whole thing? Well, you get 3 to 4, 5 instructors with all this experience. We throw in the resilience building basic program, the pre-exam. We built that into the leadership summit, which will cost you $400 on the side. And then the 6 months after of training that's built into the cost of the summit. and that's probably $600, $700, $800 alone worth of training. So, what do you get out of this? You get a powerful experience that you really get some good tools that you can take back to your organization and build upon. So,
one of the things that I don't think gets talked about enough, it does in a quarterly financial report or an H1, H2 type report on operations and finances, or yearly, you'll see the numbers on your turnover of people. So let's just say, for instance, an operation has $120,000 lost on the turnover of people. Well, if you invested $1,200, $1,700, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be perfect, but if you can build stronger teams so you don't have that turnover, and the managers can work with their teams a bit better, you're going to offset those turnover and onboarding costs, which is an ILT that I don't think gets looked at enough.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, folks, this summit is coming to a city near you. If you're an organization and you're interested in having John and his team come to you, the information is scrolling on the bottom of the screen, and you can get a hold of them to come to you. How about that? And that's a benefit all in itself. Fellas, thank you so much for sharing this evening with me, telling us about the summit. I'm so happy that I am part of it, that you guys have developed such a great, and solid conference for folks to come in, a small group of folks to get there, not only that leadership development and training, but even follow on. And by the way, another added a certification in resilience building. This is crazy when you think about the amount invested into this one program for whatever it is that the price is. I'm telling you, folks, that you will be amazed, and we'll just thank this team for a long time for what they're doing.
Hey,
for those
Enrique.
that joined us, thank you for being with us tonight. And
Hey,
I'll let
Enrique.
John close us out here.
Oh, I don't need to close this out, but since we got people that have joined us live, are there any questions out there or any comments that anybody wants to share with my team before we jump off? I'd love to hear from somebody.
We had Kim said thank you for sharing the information. She had to go, but she's over there in IMC this week.
Okay.
Again, in her field. But if there's anybody out there, I know there's about 9 to 15 people out there. Let us know what you think about it. If you have any questions for John and his team, please put them in the chat, and we will take care of those as they come in.
Fantailservices.com. Go check it out. See what we can offer you.
Hey, Enrique, I'll just close out with this. One, I appreciate your willingness to let us go live on your program and continue to support us, and it's good to have you on the team. Tony, it's good to see you out there. I'll talk to you soon. But if you look at our world and our environment today, leadership is more important than ever. And 2020 was a kick in the teeth, and 2021 is still kicking. And so for those folks out there that, may be struggling with leadership or just struggling at all, give us a call. We're happy to help. We're happy to offer you a listen ear. And I would be remiss if I didn't ask everybody to say your prayers for our country and for the 13 veterans that lost their lives defending our country. So please say a prayer for them and their families. And again, thank you, Enrique.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you, Fantail Services, for what you're about to do for all these future leaders coming to your conferences. Folks, check their website out. Communicate with them. And if you need any information on my end, just write me, DM me, and I'll get you where you need to be. But for tonight, John, Ray, Rich, thank you so much. God bless you all. And we will see you on the other side of leadership.